So we are just getting on site now to Skinwalker Ranch. We just saw our first Skinwalker.
It looked like a rabbit, but we know what it was.
In the form of like a, I don't know, small house cat.
A soft bunny.
Okay, let's get moving. Go.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're driving in the dark. There's like some pretty robust fencing. You think that light is Homestead 1?
This is Phil's Skinwalker Ranch foreplay.
Yeah, this
He's
is.
getting you all excited.
What is that thing out there? That's got to be an alien spaceship.
Pretty sure is that research.
Maybe it is the research center. There are quite a few lights around, but the ranch is largely very dark. But there is a light. Do you guys see the light? It looks like a star.
Oh, that's below the horizon?
Yeah. What is it? Straight over
It's
this
a light.
way, up against the
It's going dot,
mesa.
dash.
What are you showing your flash? It's like a mile away. We're right now sitting right next to Skinwalker Ranch, staring up at the mesa up to the right of us, which would be north of us.
I am surprised at how many people live out here, though. Like, I thought it was going to be way more remote. Is that what you're saying?
My GPS is going a little screwy.
Did you just lose your...
You can't say things like that here.
Why? Are you worried?
Because, no, maybe is it really going screwy?
Yeah.
Or are you just saying that?
It was, and now it's okay. Yeah.
We're cruising. It's like cruising State Street, but we're cruising Skinwalker Ranch. Picking up on chicks. Isn't Skinwalker Ranch to the left of us here? Like technically the property?
Yeah.
Not the mesa, but the property. Yield. Never mind. I'm a good backseat driver.
We're all talking into a microphone close to our face, but I have some higher fidelity microphones stuck out nearer to the lake. But in this situation, it didn't seem to sound.
That's an animal. Getting anything at 1.6 gigahertz?
We should start recording.
I am recording.
Oh.
That's what we're hearing. That's not night tapping. That's like a message. Look.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same. Okay. With that.
What do you mean it's the same?
You can have your headlight on.
Well, yes.
How many times has it done it?
Twice that we've recorded.
So what's the distance?
It's right now.
How
It's
far
happening right
apart
now.
Right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
So that's weird, but let's see if it happens again.
We're finding an anomaly already.
Yeah. It's actually I don't want to like start this thing off being paranoid already, but I've never seen anything like this in all my years of recording.
Well, that's nice. Let's talk about it while we're recording. Oh, are we recording?
We are.
Oh, cool.
Do you understand?
Why don't you start the show then?
That's what I always say.
I'm going to crank these up. I'm going to pull these meters up so that we can see what's actually happening. And I'm going to welcome you, listener, to the American Fork podcast. We are currently on location at Skinwalker Ranch in like the Uinta Basin, which is out east of like the Salt Lake, Provo area. If you've never heard of Skinwalker Ranch,
Get out from under the rock.
yeah, turn on Netflix. There's this guy named Brandon Fugel. You might have heard Brandon?
Yeah, Brandon.
That's
Fugel.
right.
Brandon. He's he like owns all the real estate in Utah. I guess he's like the king of Utah.
He's a massive real estate agent. Okay.
The biggest.
Yeah, he's the one we'll all be paying taxes to one day. He's the king.
If you're not already, you might be paying already.
Yeah, but he bought the place for a variety of reasons that we're going to talk about. But we're actually sitting right now staring out over the ridge, which we're going to tell you what the ridge is. And it's going to be a good time. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Phil. I'm here with Jeff.
Hi, Phil.
You know how I know it's Phil? He
How do you know
sounds
it's Phil?
so good being recorded.
I do, right?
Would you equate it to a
I have
food?
like a low,
Type of
steady, rumbly voice, right?
It's like It's like butter.
It is like
butter.
It's like butter.
Anyway.
Forget about it.
You've probably missed us. It's been a little while, but we drove all the way out here to record on location outside so that we could stare straight into the dark for our bum 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 bum. Halloween.
Ween a
Episode.
ween.
Lots of fun on Halloween.
My favorite ween is Halloween.
Yeah. Anyway, per tradition, we do a little news on this podcast, and there's not a lot going on in the world, right?
No.
Nothing really happening.
Nothing politically. Nothing in Ukraine. It's pretty much everything's going fine.
Yeah, Ukraine's kind of crazy right now, isn't it?
I'm crazy right now.
Mostly because Russia's bombing the crap out of them.
Yep.
And I think largely because, well, we don't know who did this, but the bridge connecting Russia to Crimea exploded or something. Somebody blew up a bridge over the ocean or the lake, or I don't know anything about geography, but
I'll tell you, I have to confess that I haven't even been watching the news or anything for a very long time.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. I know a little bit about this. So, Crimea was annexed by Russia in 2014.
Yep.
And Russia built a massive over-the-water, I think it's over the ocean. Is that the ocean over there? I don't know.
Sure.
Some big lake or the ocean connecting Russia and Ukraine, Crimea.
Yeah.
So that they could, because Crimea is I don't know, it's like the Florida Keys of Russia.
Have you heard the song that Justin Timberlake sang about Crimea?
It's about the river, right?
Crimea River.
Yeah, that's what he
Crimea River.
He foretold this happening. But anyway, recently in the last couple of weeks, that bridge blew up. Russia calls it a terrorist incident, and now they're bombing the crap out of Ukraine, which sucks for the Ukrainian people. God be with them.
Yes.
Am I right?
Till we meet again.
Till we meet again. So,
Crimea.
Is there
River.
anything we can do at this point?
Change your profile picture to show us your support.
Yeah, the Ukrainian flag.
Oh, okay. Let's do that.
Because that helps.
It's really dark out here.
It is.
We're staring straight into blackness.
Yes.
A lot of stars.
Oh, the stars are amazing tonight.
Yeah.
I can see the milk in the Milky Way.
They sure are. Kanye West wore a White Lives Matter shirt to some kind of...
Are you serious?
Was it like an NBC interview or something?
No, it was like a fashion show.
Wow.
I think you wore it to an interview.
Oh, you didn't hear about this?
I haven't heard any. No, I told you I haven't listened to the news for 3 weeks.
Oh, it's everyone's up in arms.
Everyone or just some people?
Everyone.
Even Jeff.
Every news source you've ever seen.
Fox News is just pissed off.
Yeah, they're really upset about
Everyone
it.
in northern Idaho
No,
that's racist.
but I thought this was a little bit bizarre, and maybe not, and maybe I'm just way behind the times. But they said that they were saying, oh, he wore this White Lives Matter shirt, and these certain groups consider the phrase White Lives Matter to be hate speech.
Oh.
So I wanted to get your guys' take on
It is.
that.
It's not.
It is, and it's not.
I think it is.
It's a tie.
I think at the very least it's a trademark infringement, because isn't that too close to Black Lives Matter?
Do you think it has anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I sure don't know either.
Okay, sorry to pause. Are you getting cutting in and out constantly?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Are you serious?
In perfect, it's a message, Jeff.
So
from outer space.
How frequently is it?
Maybe
2:30. It's about every 30 seconds.
Maybe we won't cut this out, but to the listener, we keep getting this weird audio sound. We have 2 microphones. Phil, explain this because you can explain it better.
So anyway, at Skinwalker Ranch, we'll get into this a little more. A lot of anomalies happen, they claim. Some people. If you watch the show on Netflix, which is actually, I think, from the History Channel.
Yeah, History Channel.
They claim that all kinds of weird things happen with electronics. We're having a weird thing happen with one of our channels where, as is happening right now, every 30 seconds or so, we get an almost identical series of like what I would call...
Spikes.
They're not even spikes. They don't look like spikes. And let me just kind of show you. You can't really see this, listener, but a spike...
Close your eyes, you can see it.
A spike would look like this. So if something maxed out and it was an audible sound, it would look like this.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is like...
Oh, like that. Okay.
Some phasal stuff happening where it's not a complete wave, but the signal is actually traveling up and down. It's really hard to explain, but it's almost like somebody were drawing what was happening. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Imagine a heartbeat on a what is that called? The thing that detects your heartbeat?
Okay, well now it's actually going really squirrely. So hang on a sec.
Looks like that.
That's not that channel. It's that one.
They both sound fine until it happens. I'm just going to crank that up so that we can hear the nice roar of the freeway flying right by us at Skinwalker Ranch. Do you guys understand?
I understand.
That's what I always say.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. White Lives Matter. I think he should have at least taken that term.
Be racist.
Are we talking about that again?
Yeah, I guess... I wonder... Maybe it's something trying to communicate with us.
Because now I'm hearing it in the other mic out there.
No, I switched them.
Oh.
And I'm not doing this, by the way, like on purpose to freak you guys out.
No. In fact, I think it's just kind of annoying.
So I've got some really sensitive microphones set up out here. Really sensitive. They'll pick up... I mean, you can hear cars over at the freeway that's miles and miles away. We've got them cranked way up in our ears right now because we're listening for any kind of weird thing that might be happening around us. We don't know what that means.
We really wanted to just get the ambient noise around us so that we could put you here with us.
Yeah, you're here with us at Skinwalker Ranch. Or as close to it as we can legally get. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, like you can hear geese.
Yeah. Yeah, it might just not be working.
It might just be broken.
But it's working now.
I don't like the ambient noise up that much.
Is it freaking you out?
Yeah, a little bit.
Loud.
I'm over here on the end, like
where something's walking toward you, and you can hear that?
Spray right here, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's pan them again to like the right direction so we can hear something coming. I'm gonna leave them on though because it's kind of fun. Anyway, Kanye West is a racist, and
what I was gonna say is he shouldn't have said "White Lives Matter." He should have varied it a little bit, like "White lives are equally important" or something like that.
Yeah, I guess. So it was. I read a little bit about it. He said he was talking to his father or his father-in-law, who used to be a Black Panther, like back in the '60s or whatever. Like one of those groups that was like, go get 'em, go black people type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't his most recent father-in-law Caitlyn Jenner?
Oh, yeah. Maybe not father. So maybe it was his dad. Some guy he was related to. Or some guy. I don't pretend to know a lot about
some guy he plays chess with at the park. Anyway,
he said that was quite a thing. That was quite a shirt that you said. And Kanye, or I guess his name is Ye now, said, is it Ye?
Yay.
Or Yay? It's Yay?
Yeah.
Oh. I guess Ye said, "Oh, why is that?" And he said, "Just a black man stating the obvious."
Okay.
And then Kanye was
And that
like,
was it.
"Because it's obvious that white lives matter." I guess.
So this is news?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it's big in the news
Is it?
this week.
Okay.
You haven't seen the
I
news.
trust you.
He talked to a in an interview. He was talking about that shirt, and he said, I think he said something about like he's got kids who are white, so he just wanted to make sure that they know that their lives matter too, or something like that.
Kanye does?
Mm-hmm.
Or Ye?
Yeah,
Yay!
his kids with what's her name, Kim Kardashian.
Oh yeah. Are
at
white?
least half white, right?
Is she white?
Uh huh.
Oh.
I mean, look at Caitlyn Jenner. Or what's her name? The dad mom?
That's not.
That's
he's
her
not
dad.
her biological father.
Oh.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I
her
never
mom
thought.
is white.
I mean, I guess I don't know, but I never thought that she was white. But I guess I don't know what I thought.
This discussion is the most I ever want to talk about it.
Yeah, I
and
think
the
next
most I
story would
ever
be
want to
good.
know.
Oh.
I mean, you can go on to the next story. I'm just saying that I don't care to find all that out.
Oh. Okay. Well, the midterm elections are coming up. This is the year 2022. Everyone's up in arms here in Utah. Evan McMullen and Mike Lee went at it in a debate the other night. Did you guys see that?
I saw some of the go at itness, but I didn't watch the whole debate.
You're seeing them go at it?
Yeah.
Debating?
Yeah.
Are they both master
No.
debaters?
But anyway, I guess the takeaway was Evan McMullen doesn't like Trump and Mike Lee does, and they agree on everything else. Is that more or less what you heard?
No. Well, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't hear the whole debate.
Oh.
Just bits and pieces.
It blows my mind that it's a political discussion of, do you like this other politician?
Right.
Like, why does that matter?
Well, I guess Evan McMullen's like the most. He was going after Mike Lee pretty much a lot because of like the January 6th thing. Because I guess Mike Lee, at least he was insinuating that Mike Lee was like on the bandwagon of like the election was stolen, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's true. That's just what Evan McMullen was pushing out there. Do you know if that's true or not?
No idea.
Oh, you don't?
Well, Evan McMullen sent out a tweet a few weeks ago that said Mike Lee admitted that all 100 senators were essentially like knew about the insurrection attempt and didn't do anything about it. He should be taken out of office or something like that. I mean, he's doubled, tripled down on this whole January 6th thing. Like Mike Lee had, a huge hand in it. Yeah. And he was like, in a dark room with President Trump trying to make sure that people break into the White House.
Well, I think he was also saying that Mike Lee was
Congress
like one of the ones that was helping Republicans like explore alternative options as far as like presidential handover. Like, could they find faithless electors or something like that? And Mike Lee came back and said, well, exploring options is not illegal, or like talking about faithless electors, who they could be or whatever. I don't know. It all, from what I gathered from it, it was just kind of, yeah. But I do think Evan McMullen is interesting because he's not affiliated with a party, even though I guess
he is now.
Why is he now?
Well, the Democrats are using him as a Trojan horse.
What does that mean?
Well, the Democratic Party donated $1.6 million to his campaign and have backed him wholeheartedly.
Oh, I thought that was maybe just because they want fewer Republicans.
I think that Evan McMullen has folded and kowtowing to what the Democrats want. I think that if he becomes a senator, he'll do what the Democratic Party wants.
He's really a Democrat in disguise. That's what you think?
Well, I think not necessarily. For a long time, back when he ran for president, he was independent and he tended to look like he was leaning more right than moderate. But I think that now that he's got a huge chunk of money from the Democrats, he's willing to do what the party wants.
So you don't like him?
I used to like him, but I don't. He's been putting out a lot of lies about Mike Lee, and I really like Mike Lee. I think he's one of the only staunch constitutionalists, and in Senate right now.
What do you think, Jeff? You're just like texting your family because you're so bored. You can't even talk about the representative to Utah.
No, I don't know. I'm kind of over politics right now.
You're not going to vote?
No, I think I'll vote.
Oh.
I don't know who I'm going to vote for yet, though.
Oh.
I got a little bit of time to decide.
Well, you could find out right now while we're talking about the candidates.
I'm listening.
Oh.
I just don't have much to input because I don't know anything about it. I got a yellow piece of paper in the mail that has his name on it.
Oh. I've seen like 7,000 ads on everything, like YouTube or anything. It's like, Mike Lee is a child molester. Evan McMullen once donated to Hitler. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't
Evan
like
McMullen
the back
said
and forth.
Republicans are racist.
I don't like the back and forth fighting thing. That is so.
It is a turnoff. It is really a turnoff.
So I've been working down in Vegas and staying in a hotel while I work down there. So I watch like real TV, I guess you'd call it, or TV with commercials, like in the old days.
Live television.
Live television in the hotel room. Every single commercial, everyone. There was not like any commercial in all the time I was down there that wasn't a political ad. Like
not even like Pfizer?
For local politics. There wasn't Pfizer. There wasn't like, I don't know, diaper commercials. What did we used to watch as kids? Cereal commercials.
Toy commercials?
Yeah, nothing. It was 100% political ads, and they were 100% attack ads. Like,
well, that's what you get for watching adult television.
The other guy is this crappy piece of crap that craps on your lawn every day. You don't want him. Vote this guy.
This guy once took a dump on the park strip.
Yeah. It really was. It was pretty wild, I thought. But that's where we are, I guess. And we'll see what happens in the midterms. No matter what happens, does it matter?
You mean as far as results in the election?
Yeah, like let's
like
say
who we get in office.
Let's say Democrats win everything. Like it's 100% Democrat seats. What will they do? That's different because right now they have control.
Yeah, they haven't
of the House.
Really done anything in the last 2 years.
But let's say
they've done a lot.
Like what?
Passed a lot of expense bills, haven't they?
I guess. But
I guess mostly COVID related.
But let's say it's 100% Republican, like they take over every seat that's available.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it matters, and so I don't know how interested I am in it.
Oh, but shouldn't we vote and be interested?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like we're not interested, but we're supposed to be, right?
It's weird because I lose interest because it's not the game that's interesting me right now. And what I mean the game, I mean the whole political thing and like changing the scene. But the only thing that's going to revert it is people getting more involved and handling more things, you know?
Yeah.
But
so you're interested in the subject matter, but the politics of it is just
right.
Gross
it's like if
you.
I went up to a menu, I'm like, I'm interested in eating. I'm hungry. But the only thing on the menu is 3 chicken nuggets that are cold or a chicken McSandwich thing that's not very good. I'm like, I don't really want either one of them, but I guess I'll eat. And I'm interested in dieting, but in this climate, I'm not going to. I don't know. That's a terrible analogy, but I'm over it.
Yeah. I don't know either. It's kind of wild.
I guess the problem is it's never going to be as entertaining as when Trump was in office. So why do I care now?
Yeah. What is that bright light out there?
That one?
Oh, that's a car.
Yeah, I saw that too.
That's like right over the Skinwalker Ridge. We keep seeing that.
Jake's got this ridiculous laser that is going to tell everyone right where we're at.
Yep. Come here and investigate.
Yeah.
Police officers.
We're not doing anything
Jake
illegal.
has like a laser that lights up the whole sky like it's a giant lightsaber.
So we're on the north end of the reservoir that's just north of Skinwalker Ridge, and we're on a campsite that we have paid for.
And we're legally here.
We're here legally, and I'm shining a laser pointer into the sky, pointing out constellations and trying to trigger a UAP.
What's a UAP?
An unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Oh.
Everyone else around us is thinking that your laser pen is a UAP.
And I'm fine with that.
Okay.
They're here, and they're used to seeing stuff like that.
I get it. Well, I have one more topic. This one's a little deeper and more serious, somber, I guess.
Is it Lord of the Rings?
Before we get into like the gist of why we're here. So the Mormon Church is being sued in Arizona for allegedly covering in so many words covering up child molestation. Have you guys heard about this at all?
No.
So the church I mean, if you're from Utah, you're familiar a little bit, I assume, with the Mormon Church. Probably either in a really positive way or maybe a really negative way. I run into a few like neutral people toward the church in Utah, but not
Literally 3 of them.
not very often. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
But there are three neutral people in Utah.
So the church has what they call a helpline. So if someone goes to a bishop and is like, I molested somebody, like in a confession, the church has a helpline that bishops are supposed to call, and they have legal representatives help them do what they're supposed to do per the laws of where they are. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's fair.
But what they're alleging, so I guess what happened is in like 2012, a guy goes into his bishop in Arizona. He says, I molested my daughter several years ago and I feel really bad. And the bishop says, okay, and he calls this helpline. Well, the helpline people, who are a bunch of lawyers and therapists, I guess, that work for the church, advised him that per the laws of Arizona, if information on child molestation is divulged during a confession, then it is not a mandatory report situation. So the bishop didn't report it, and I guess worked with this guy and was like, you need to go to the police, blah, blah, blah. Also talked to his wife and is like, you need to report your husband to the police. They didn't, and apparently he molested his 2 daughters over the course of the following 4 or 5 years and posted it on the internet, finally got caught. Well, the daughters are suing the church, I believe, saying that, oh, you covered this up, you knew about it. And I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts are on this, because I'm a little bit torn, but I want to see what you think.
So the law is pretty clear about it. It's a parishioner confidentiality. It's like a doctor's confidentiality or a lawyer's confidentiality.
Or a lawyer, right.
So there's parishioner or clergy or something like that. I can't remember the exact term, but from my understanding of it, it is very cut and dry. If someone confesses a sin to you, and it doesn't matter what it is, there's certain ones that have to be reported. One of them, and this is the law by Jeff, so I could be totally wrong, but one of them is minors, like sexual abuse or anything like that of a minor, has to be reported. Murder has to be reported. If the guy robbed a bank, he actually doesn't have to report that. Like there's certain criteria, and the 2 I know for sure is killing somebody or sexual things with minors.
So,
is that a federal thing?
I don't know if it's federal or what, but I just know that I've been briefed on that before and explained to me.
So in the state of Utah where we live, that is true. It's mandatory that no matter the situation, even if it's a lawyer or a doctor or a bishop or a religious confession type thing, your priest, you have to report it. In Arizona, there is an exemption for confessional type situations where
Weird.
Where like if you go to your priest and you confess in the thing, he doesn't have to report that. Initially I was like, oh yeah, you have to report child abuse at all times, but we were kind of talking about something in the car kind of similar to this, and I forgot what it was. But if you make the law that it's mandatory to report, doesn't that just mean that they don't tell anybody? And
you
is
mean
that
the abuser wouldn't tell?
right? Like if it's
Confess or
if it's
whatever.
mandatory to report, the abuser doesn't tell his bishop. Now in this case, it's obvious that didn't help. And what I'm getting out there is like, okay, it's not mandatory, so this guy feels okay divulging it to the bishop, and because of that, he could at least like talk to the guy's wife, talk to him, encourage him to report it, something that would never happen otherwise, right? But in this situation, it didn't seem to. What's that?
That's an animal.
Hello, animal.
It's a kitty.
That's kind of freaked me out.
It's just
for
a black
second.
cat just hanging
Oh,
out
I've got
over here.
A cat and a laser. Those go together really well.
Oh yeah, get the laser out. I'll
That's
bet you
a
that cat
bright
has seen
freaking
some crazy
laser.
stuff.
You think so?
The kitty cats of Skinwalker Ranch.
Meow.
Um,
Those eyes are green, glowing on it at us.
You're gonna burn the cat's butt.
yeah, that's a bright laser. Anyway,
You're burning my eyes. Okay, thanks, Jake.
what they're
Thing's so bright.
what they're obviously saying is that the church should have reported it as soon as they found it. The church is saying that's not the law in Arizona, so we correctly advised that bishop. What do you guys think? Should it just be universal? And actually, my understanding is a little different from yours, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
For lawyers, like lawyer confidentiality, the only time a lawyer is required to report is if a crime is going to be committed. Like if you go to your lawyer and you're like, I'm going to kill my neighbor, then they have to report that. But if you go to a lawyer and they're like, I just killed my neighbor, I believe the lawyer doesn't have to call the police, but they'll obviously tell you, we need to go to the police. Now, I don't know if that's true. It seems weird,
seems
but,
off.
Yeah.
I don't think that sounds right, but I could be wrong.
But, well, and maybe if it's like, no, I'm not going to report, lawyer, see you later, then obviously the lawyer has to do it. But if I don't know.
So basically there's no difference.
Yeah. Well, certain things you divulge to your lawyer are confidential.
Yeah.
Like certain things you divulge to your priest or your bishop in some states, and it varies by state, are confidential. Is that helpful for, like, is that exemption a good thing or is it a bad thing? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know what you mean by exemption. Is it okay that they have to report those things?
No,
Is it okay that they don't have to?
Arizona's exemption that, like, if you confess something, like if you're in Arizona, you go into your priest or your bishop or your pastor and you say, I molested a child.
Right. I think it's messed up. I don't think that's right.
You think it should be reported at all times?
So.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to stop that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
What-
and
to me, it's a crime.
But again,
Phil's argument is that if it's mandatory that you report it, then people, this man in Arizona say, knowing that it's mandatory for his bishop to report it, he's not going to confess. And,
but if the bishop doesn't have to report it, then why does it? I guess what I'm saying is, if you're the guy that's guilty of something, and you're like, oh, well, the bishop has to report this, so I'm not going to tell him. Okay, or the bishop doesn't have to report this, and I can tell him. Now I told him, well, guess what? He still didn't report it, so either way, it's the same.
right, but is there other avenues that the bishop can help at that point, though?
I don't think it's the responsibility of the bishop to handle that.
He just
I don't
needs
know.
to hand it straight off to the police.
Yeah, if it's a crime to that magnitude, heck yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering, though. Like, let's say in a hypothetical situation, someone confesses to the bishop, I molested my neighbor or whatever. And then the bishop talks to them and says, listen, you really got to get ahead of this. You need to go to the police and do this. And then they actually do go to the police. Now, let's say hypothetically that happens. Let's say it only happens 3 times out of 100. But then you make a law that it's mandatory reporting, and now nobody confesses to their bishop, so those 3 times don't happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it'd be interesting to know, like, if it ever does help to do it that way, or if it doesn't. But you're still leaning on the side of just report all the time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seems like the right thing to do. So I wouldn't mind if it's law. I mean, you can look at it in different ways, and I do understand what you're saying. I'd have to have the numbers to really make a decision on that because.
Yeah, and again, I don't even know if that's true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the opposite. I'm just wondering why there would be an exemption at all, because there obviously is in Arizona. Why anyone would even think that's good, and that's kind of the only thing I can think of, is they think that it's actually helpful because some percentage of people actually get helped through that.
Right.
Versus,
it may promote a confession.
Yeah.
Having it not mandatory to report.
But I don't know, like, I can't imagine being a bishop, like, and having that be reported and me not doing anything, you know? I can't even imagine me, like, calling the helpline. I would just call the police and say, hey, this guy just said he raped his daughter.
Yeah, and imagine this. You go, okay, so now a bishop's sitting on that, and then he doesn't report it, and it never gets found out. And now he's sitting on that, and now what? Is he an accessory to the crime? I mean, is he now liable for part of what's happening?
Well, that's what they're claiming in this lawsuit, that the bishop, that the LDS Family Services, which kind of helps facilitate this helpline, that they're all kind of culpable in these rapes that happened over these many years. And the thing that they're suing about right now is, so this guy, as soon as he confessed, he got excommunicated. So he's no longer a member. They're still meeting with him, trying to work with him, but he's no longer a member. And they're suing for access to those excommunication records because they obviously think that it's going to show they excommunicated him because he confessed to raping his daughters, and that's going to show that they're culpable. I don't know if that's not true in some sense, except, again, like, if they were doing what's actually legal in Arizona, it sounds like they advised him the correct thing. But they're also saying that LDS Family Services, or the church, that they called, they're in Utah, and the law in Utah is mandatory reporting no matter what. So I don't know. It's wild.
It sounds like I think that it would be surprising if this bishop lost the lawsuit and was found legally, punished, because considering what the law is.
Well, and again, I don't even know how much it'll fall. I could be wrong. Maybe I said they were suing the bishop. I don't know that they actually are. I think they're saying he told the bishop, and the bishop called your legal department, and the legal department is what's responsible.
It's essentially the church that
they're suing the organization.
Yeah, they wouldn't be suing the bishop. He doesn't have money to go after, right?
Not enough.
Like the church. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, because if people have been molested like that, and there's somebody like with money that's even partially responsible, I think that's a great thing for them to get that money.
Compensation.
Like, because it's such a horrible thing. Like, if there's anything that can make their life better, if somebody's actually responsible. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But
I wonder if the church would end up like paying settlement like they did with the Boy Scouts thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's a good point too. Why don't they just go over the person that actually committed the crime? They don't have any money.
Right.
Well, you got to go for the people that...
I guess he killed himself a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so he definitely doesn't have any money.
Right.
Unless he was buried with it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They exhume his body and take all his gold.
That's the thing. But I would and I don't say I completely understand, like I have any even close to idea what these people are going through, but I can imagine that they're hurt and like it's a crazy amount of like pain and frustration and wanting like some help, somebody to pay, anybody responsible. Like if this were to happen to you and then you were to find out somebody knew about it, and not just somebody like in your neighborhood, but they actually called a big giant legal firm that like went over all the data and crunched the numbers, and like what was happening to you was actually discussed by like lots of people out there, you know. I can imagine you would just be furious, to say the least.
Yeah,
so.
go after whoever you can. It'd be very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean it's heartbreaking, and now you got podcasts talking about it and shedding light on this family. That's
do you really want light on your family in that situation?
Yeah, that sucks.
Crazy.
Yeah, so people on podcasts should stop talking about it.
It sucks. It sucks. And again, I don't know what the answer is. It seems like, I mean, that's the interesting thing in Utah, which arguably is very heavily influenced by LDS, by the LDS Church, the politics and things. Here, the law is mandatory reporting. So
right.
It's interesting that they wouldn't just do that anyway. But they're kind of saying that, well, it's actually the law in Arizona that you don't report if it's in a confidential...
Confessional,
right. Mm-hmm. If it's a religious confession type situation. So
right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. But anyway, we've seen this black cat walk in front of us and turn around and look at us like 3 times now. Maybe it is a skinwalker.
I have a quick story.
Oh, okay.
It's actually really short.
Does it start with once upon a time?
I just want to claim that Utah is the most Weezer friendly state.
Oh,
Weezer?
Weezer friendly.
The band?
The band Weezer.
Okay.
Did you hear about the billboard?
No.
There was a this was just several days ago. There was a man named Corey Wynn who rented a billboard in Murray, Utah, which is southern Utah, Salt Lake County, and it just said Weezer on it. And then shortly thereafter, I think it was on State Street or off I-15, so a lot of people could see it. Shortly thereafter, Weezer rented a billboard that said, let's see, dang it.
It said the kid's name?
No, it said picture sign. It said, thanks to whoever bought the billboard down the road, Weezer. And that's
a cool story, actually.
Yeah. So,
so somebody said something about Weezer, and then Weezer bought a billboard to respond?
He just rented a billboard that said Weezer on it.
Oh.
And then Weezer bought a billboard that says, thanks, Weezer.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I love Weezer.
I wonder how... I mean, if it wasn't obvious that you're advertising for the company by just putting their name on there, that could be like a copyright infringement. So I'm surprised that somebody was able to rent the billboard. It actually kind of makes me think that Weezer rented both of them.
That would be funny.
Because, when you go to companies like that, you're like, I want to do this. They're like, oh, do you have the copyright to that?
Do you think they really jump through those? I guess they probably do. Probably more for logos and stuff, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But if it just said the word Weezer.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, you rented a sign that it just said Smashing Pumpkins on it. You can make the claim that, I just like to smash pumpkins,
Yeah.
Weezer, the name Weezer, I don't think is is it trademarked? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Smashing Pumpkins, we're going, Trolley Square does this thing every year where you can take your very own pumpkin to the top of the water tower and throw it off.
That's so cool.
It's like probably two and a half stories high.
Oh, and they make a big mess down below?
Yeah, they have these giant tarps they put down there, and you just throw your pumpkin and it splatters. And I don't know, I've never done it, but we're doing it. So you should look it up if you ever want to throw a pumpkin off something high and watch it smash.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Because it's Halloween, man.
It is Halloween. That's why we've seen this black cat walk in front of us.
Did you see
like
he just
3
walked
times?
right by me?
Did he?
Yeah.
Back by the
He's
car.
like getting closer and closer to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a skinwalker for sure.
A skinwalker. Which
We are in the path of the skinwalker, which is what it's known as.
that's what they claim we are in. That is exactly right. And the reason for that is, whoa, it's right there. Yeah, he's kind of like hanging out around us.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that's what's going on?
He's
100%.
like, that light is making it so I can't use my night vision.
Yeah, why do you
So-
keep turning it on?
I have a confession. When
see
you
him.
guys said we're coming to Skinwalker Ranch, I thought that was a flavor of ranch dressing.
Oh.
That from Jeffrey Dahmer.
You thought Jeffrey Dahmer's ranch dressing. I get it. So if you don't know what Skinwalker Ranch is, it is a ranch in Duchesne County, Utah. I guess we've all already told you that, but apparently there have been a lot of paranormal things going on out here over the years. And when I say years, for several decades.
Well, several decades researched, but over 100 years documented.
Well, and I should say, from my understanding, actually hundreds of years, according to Native American
That's true.
lore and things that have been going on in the area. It's located on the Ute reservation out here, and Jake's gonna go pet the skinwalker.
Jake, you can't pee on the Skinwalker. Turn the audio up on that microphone.
Oh yeah, let's hear what's going on out there. Can't do it fast enough.
You can do it.
Oh yeah, you hear that?
Pee louder. So the Skinwalker Ranch is actually, it's not just the ranch. It's this whole area that is steeped in folklore from Native Americans all the way through the turn of the century and some of the people that have tried to run this ranch in this area. And it's just, from what I understand, it's the most well-researched paranormal place on Earth.
Yeah, the reason it became recently interesting is because this guy, Brandon Fugel, which we talked about earlier, he bought this place, I guess in like 2018, 17, something like that.
Yeah.
I guess before him, another billionaire had bought it back in the 90s and put a lot of money into doing a lot of research out there. To my understanding, hasn't released a lot of what they found out there, but it was interesting enough that this guy Fugel bought it, and he's now doing a show on the History Channel where he has all kinds of scientists come out and study the place. And the gist of the show, from what I've seen so far, maybe you've seen it, is that they've got all these people working out there. Some have worked for many years, and the ones that have claim to have experienced some pretty bizarre things over the years. Well, they have this new guy come on that's supposed to be this like fresh critical scientist, and in the matter of a couple episodes, he starts experiencing and seeing things and measuring things that don't make any sense to him, to where it's almost like he kind of becomes like a believer. And I don't know if that's staged or not, or he's just like the guy they wanted, because maybe he secretly did a lot of paranormal stuff anyway. But
He's screen tested well.
yeah,
Because he's got a southern accent. And
he's got a southern accent. He sounds like he works at NASA. And he comes out and he's like, I'm going to be a real scientist and figure this stuff out. Is that about
Yeah,
what...
he actually wrote a book back when he was working for the federal government called Alien Invasion, and essentially it's a textbook on how to deal with what society would do if there's an alien invasion. I think that he received a lot of criticism, or the show received a lot of criticism because they chose him, because he has had, I think he's had some, interest in extraterrestrials, and he's actually an aerospace engineer. I think.
Yeah.
So that makes more sense, because that was kind of the gist that I got, because he was like, at least in my opinion, I do a little science in my profession. He came out hitting not so hard on the critical, objective scale, and a little more on the whoa, what was that?
But rewind, Jake. You said that he wrote a document that explained what would happen if aliens came down?
Yeah.
Okay, do you realize that's the beginning plot for the movie Sphere?
What would happen if aliens came down?
If aliens came, what would be the best way to handle the situation?
Oh,
what kind of team?
You mean the character?
Yeah, the character wrote
Dustin Hoffman's character.
Yeah, he wrote a book or a pamphlet that basically said you would have these people, you'd have this psychologist, you'd have this whatever, and he formulated a hypothetical team to deal with this, and then all of a sudden the government forms this team to deal with the sphere at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. So you're saying that this guy was based off of Dustin Hoffman's character in the movie Sphere?
Or vice versa.
Versa, yeah. It's called Alien Invasion: How to Defend Earth by Bob Bone and Travis Taylor.
Really?
Travis Taylor is the name of this gentleman.
I didn't even realize that.
That's so funny.
So we drove all the way out here because I was mildly interested, because I thought this was legit because of this NASA space guy. But apparently he's written UFO. Now I'm not downplaying, just because someone writes a book on UFOs doesn't mean they're not legitimate. And I thought about that a lot because of that book you had me read, Jeff, recently, which is called Hunting for the Skinwalker.
Yeah,
what is
Hunting for the Skinwalker, something like that. That's a book that was written right after the time frame of the first billionaire that bought the property, and they started research on it. The group that researched it was called NIDS, which is National Institute for Scientific Discovery, and they actually were on the property for a decade or more, doing pretty extensive research on it. But that book was written by one of the guys on that team, and they were the first ones to really scientifically try and figure out what's going on. But if we're talking to starting stories about this place, we should really start from the beginning, because it started hundreds of years ago.
So in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the light he divided from the sea, and the sea he called sea, and the land he called air. Is that right?
The land he called air, yeah.
And then what happened after that, Jeff?
And then the Navajo Indians cursed the Ute Nation land.
No, I think years ago there was some kind of skirmish.
Yeah.
Here in the valley, and I think a lot of Navajo were killed. Am I butchering this story? But I think they cursed the land here. And
the Navajos cursed the Ute land.
The Navajo. So in the Navajo lore, and I'm probably butchering this. Tyler would know, and he's shaking his head right now, saying, "Phil, you're such a white idiot."
But thanks for listening, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Tyler. But I think they cursed the land, and so they think everything paranormal that's happening here is because of their curse. Well, the Ute tribe believe that it's this is all the path of the Skinwalker. I think. Didn't they have the Ute captain, chief, or maybe not the chief, but he was one of the Ute council guys on the show. Come and talk to him, and that's what he's pretty much saying. This whole area here is where the Skinwalker goes.
From the way I understood it, was that essentially the Utes they're a bit more warrior based, and so they actually came in and were pretty rough, and they took the land from the Navajos. The Navajo cursed this, and in Navajo lore, they there's a thing called a Skinwalker, which is a ill-intentioned witch, basically. I mean, that's my terminology, but it's a medicine man that has magic and on their side, and they basically turn to the dark side, if we can put some Star Wars references onto it. So essentially this person it protects this area, and they say that this ranch specifically, in this ridge that we're looking at, is in the path of the Skinwalker. So the Skinwalker roams or deals with this zone, and it's a shape-shifting entity. And yeah, I don't know if they're protecting it or just causing mischief. I don't know exactly what the purpose is behind it, but basically no good is to come of it.
Well,
is the idea.
And I guess the closest analog is like a werewolf, right?
Right.
It's like a man/beast that can like change form. And anyway, in this book, they say there's this family that bought the ranch back in the 60s, 70s, something like that. And actually, one of the things that happened is they were out working on the ranch, and what they described as a large wolf, like a really big wolf, came onto the property and got pretty close to him within like 20, 30 yards. And
are you talking about the bulletproof wolf?
Yeah.
No, they touched it. And it was tame.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It came walking up to him. The kids came out and touched it and pet it. And it was like a huge wolf. And everyone was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, called everyone together.
Not just that. They were like, oh, this must be a neighbor dog. But it was massive.
It was a huge wolf. And then they said all of a sudden, with what they described as lightning speed, the wolf ran over to one of their corrals and grabbed one of their sheep or goats or calves through the fence and was like pulling it through the fence. And I guess they ran up and grabbed a bar or something or a bat and started hitting the wolf, and it wouldn't let go. They claim that they called and said, go get my gun. Somebody went and got a gun. They fire at the wolf, and it lets go, and it kind of walks off a little bit.
So there's some details you're missing. So the dad, had his kids there, and they had just pulled up, so the truck was nearby. The dad started kicking the wolf to get to release the calf. Because if anyone knows, in cattle, like if a dog's going to attack animals on a farm, it's a no-go. Like, I don't care if it's the neighbor's dog or anything. It's just it gets put down because those cattle are worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
So the dad's giving it full-blown kicks to the rib, and it's not even releasing it. And so the son brings a bat and gives him 2 good hits with the bat, and this dog isn't turning towards them and attacking them. It just keeps at the calf. So then the dad says, go get my gun, which was in the truck, and it was a handgun, but a big one, like a .357 or something like that. From what I understood, I think he put 2 or 3 rounds into this animal without it flinching. It basically like side-eyed him, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So he told the kid, go get my .30-aught. And the kid ran into the house.
Which is a big
rifle. It's designed to and utilized to take down elk and deer, right, Jake?
Yeah, large game.
Yeah,
big
that's
game.
The
weapon of choice for.
So then, at like 20, 30 feet, something like that, and this guy's had taken down animals at 200 yards with this rifle. He's a hunter. He shot the animal once. It kind of flinched again. Shot him again, and they say that a piece of flesh and hair came off of him. But after that, it kind of just dropped the calf and left, kind of begrudgingly. But it didn't attack the people, which I thought was so weird in that story.
Yeah, it didn't attack the people, and even after they saw chunks of flesh leave its body, it just kind of sat there, and then finally just kind of slowly walked away, like wasn't whimpering, anything like that. Now, this is an account of one family, I guess, but apparently it's considered to be fairly legitimate in some circles because like the whole family had a pretty uniform, consistent story.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like drunk dad called one night and whatever. Like everybody seemed to see the same thing.
Sounds like an
happen.
episode of X-Files.
The rest of that story is that they followed the animal because they're like, I can't have this dog out potentially killing my cattle, right?
Right.
So like, we need to go finish the job. They followed it all the way to the creek, and it essentially just disappeared. Like the footprints in the mud just ceased to exist. Like they were tracking it, and all of a sudden it just stopped.
Right.
So
pretty
weird.
wild. So, and we don't know if that's a skinwalker, but allegedly that's maybe an example of what a skinwalker could be, and what it's doing out here. But this area, they've claimed to have a lot of sightings, but that's not even the beginning of like what's been going on out here allegedly.
Yeah.
What, according to some people, and a lot of it has more to do with like what you would think is more like UFO type stuff, where people are seeing, like we're sitting here right now staring out across the lake just north of the Skinwalker Ranch, which apparently has had like glowing blue orbs shoot up out of it and across the sky with lightning speed. People have claimed to see like what they claim are like doorways into like other places, like
other dimensions,
hovering up in the air, like hundreds of feet in the air, like what they described as like, it's like kind of nighttime, but there's a big door like over there that's like, and it's daytime on the other side of the door, and it's like floating up in the air. Pretty wild stuff that it's like, okay, are these people smoking weed out on their farm? Like,
I think it'd take more than weed to see these things.
Like mushrooms, like straight
or
up
something else.
Yeah, some sort of hallucinogen.
DMT.
But a lot of people have in this area have reported stuff like that.
Yeah.
And on this show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, I think they kind of, I mean, they talk about how there are just these like it's the epicenter for a ton of unnatural phenomenon that occur, and every single episode of this show is like they find there's something weird, really weird, odd that happens. They go around with, infrared cameras, night vision, RFID, radio frequency detection devices, and radiation sensors and all these different sensors, and they're always doing just crazy, like these sensors are just going off really weird, and they actually catch unidentified flying objects on camera multiple times.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that this Skinwalker thing is just the name, and honestly it's one of the least interesting things to me, because every other paranormal action you can think of is occurring on this, supposedly, whether it's poltergeist activity or UFOs or weird magnetic, portals. Like, that's the crazy stuff,
Yeah, one of the there was, I won't spoil really, but
spoil.
I'll spoil one of the episodes, or one of the episodes, and I think season 2, they take their so they're led to kind of believe that it seems as though there's something going on around 4,000 to 5,000 feet above ground level, above the ridge, which is on the north edge of the ranch. So they take their helicopter up there, and they makeshift a whole bunch of like little soda, like bottles with different colors, and they've got multiple sensors inside that's would detect a whole bunch of different things that they can gather after they land on the ground. And so they're taking the helicopter up there, and when they get to about 4,000 to 5,000 feet, their altimeter all of a sudden says they're 30 feet above the ground and 40 feet, and they're moving, and it's like there's something below them within 40 feet, and it's moving with them. And that was like really, really weird to me. I don't know why an altimeter on a really modern, high-tech helicopter would do something like that.
Right.
Yeah, there've been all number of like malfunctions with equipment going on, right? Like batteries is a big one that they say like, oh, batteries are all dead. People will bring out new equipment that supposedly works perfectly, like to measure radiation or ground vibration or whatever, and then the people are like, oh, this has never done this before, I can't get it to work, or it's showing things that don't make sense. A lot of claims of stuff like that going on. The one guy on the show claimed that like all of a sudden my head started growing a tumor thing on it, like his skull like kind of like looked like someone beat him in the head, but it just kind of like happened all of a sudden, according to him. Now again, I kind of fall back onto, okay,
is it dramatized?
Yeah, or did this guy get drunk and hit his head and now he's got a new thing for the show? Like, I don't know. Like, or did he just hit his head climbing around or doing anything, like, or just like anyone hits their head? I don't know. And that's where I kind of go on some of this stuff. I'm like, okay, could this be explained in some other way? And one of the things that is weird to me is like the variation of stuff that they're claiming to happen out here. Like, it's one thing if they're like, oh yeah, we see this big wolf and a lot of neighbors report this big wolf and weird things happen when the wolf's around, or people try and shoot it, things like that. But it's not just a wolf. It's like glowing orbs and space doors and
cattle mutilations.
And the mutilations are like so weird because I guess like all their organs are removed. And this guy that wrote this book, he's like a scientist. At least the book is very well written, and it's very like methodical, and he explains things very well, and he's very objective, I think. Like, and he never claims that like he believes in any of this stuff. He's more or less making, from my point of view, he's more or less making the point that like we can't just discount all this. Like, there's so many people saying something about it, and you know, a lot of their stories can be corroborated. You know, like it's not just one guy, it's like a whole group of people saw this, and then this other family saw these things over the course of years and years. Like, we can't just discount that because but he also wasn't going so far as to say, you know, it absolutely means it's aliens or anything. And he actually pointed out that one very real possibility could be that there's some kind of government military stuff going on with advanced technology that we don't know about. And this all, even a couple years ago, even having this conversation would have probably been a lot weirder than it is now. But the government's actually come out recently. You'll remember during COVID, which was a weird time to divulge it, I guess, but they're like, yeah, there's like some UFOs going on. Here they are, and they showed it on the news. Like, here's this guy in a fighter jet, and here's this thing like following him, and now it like dives down 20 miles into the ocean suddenly. And
if you haven't seen the Tic Tac video, the UFO Tic Tac, I think people call it. That is a crazy video captured by the U.S. Navy, I believe. And basically the Navy just comes out and says, yeah, that's a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. We don't know what it is. And that's pretty weird for the government to come out and say that.
So we've been sitting here roughly an hour staring into blackness, into a black lake, black sky with stars. Have you guys noticed anything that you would describe as odd or supernatural?
Nothing other than that sound that's going on every 30 seconds.
And
Jeff's phone did the weird thing too.
So let me tell you about this sound. And it could just be a malfunctioning microphone. I've had it happen before, but not in this way. And the interesting thing that's happening, I'll zoom in right here. So this is what we're looking at right now, is a spectrum of the entire audio spectrum. So down here, is clear down to 9 hertz is as low as we're measuring, which is about an octave lower than you can possibly hear. And actually most animals, including whales, can only hear about to that low. It goes all the way up. Right now we're recording up to almost 50 kilohertz, which is more than an octave above what we can possibly hear, and a lot more than that for most people. Clear up high in the spectrum, way higher than we can hear. This pulse keeps happening, and you can actually see right here.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Where it's peaking. So down here is it's happening right now, and you can actually see it rise.
Yep.
Right there, and that's actually about 42 kilohertz. I don't know why it's happening. We're hearing something going on, but we're not hearing that high. Only the computer is picking that up. I don't know. It could be a malfunction. It could be some alien trying to communicate. I laugh, but I don't know.
It could be.
It could be.
And the other thing that happened was my phone. I've never had any problems with my screen ever, and the top corner was like blurred out. It was almost like, I couldn't see my time or anything up there, and every app I went into is blurred out. I don't know. It's not that weird, but it is something that's never happened before.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to what they kept reporting on this show is every time they'd run a test, or many times they would run it. Every time they ran a test, something
like electronics would act
something
weird.
Odd happened.
Right.
But a lot of times there were situations where like everybody's phones completely shut off. But
died.
Or died. The battery's completely like drained. But one guy's phone, he's like, check out my phone, dude. And like it looks like somebody is tapping numbers and opening up things and trying to call and just like really rapidly tapping everything, every part of the screen. And he's like, it's never ever done this before. And it happened like 3 times
Several
on the
times.
show.
Yeah.
And so it's like all electronic. Something happens weird with the electronic equipment.
Or can you download an app that's called like Freak Out My Phone?
Yeah,
or something like that. It's like the Scramble app for your phone.
Yeah, I downloaded this app, and no, it's just
what do you guys?
I believe every time it's happening, pretty much there's a large spike and a large dip, followed by 4 consecutive pulses. I don't know what that means, but it actually looks the same every time that it's happening. It's not happening in perfect like
intervals.
They're pretty close, but there's some variation in their width. It's weird because typically when there's a microphone malfunction or a preamp malfunction, it's more consistent. Like it's either constant or maybe randomly happens. But this is like, it's strange. I haven't seen anything like it, but again, there could be another explanation for what we're recording that I'll find out. For example, if I get home and plug this all back in and hit record and the same thing happens, we know it's not Skinwalker.
Is it one of those area mics out there in front of us?
Yeah. So what we're talking about when we're getting these pulses, we're all talking into a microphone close to our face, but I have some higher fidelity microphones stuck out nearer to the lake that pick up. They're called omnidirectional mics, so they pick up sound in every direction. They're very sensitive. So
I know. I was talking to one earlier, and it was like, I'm offended.
Yeah, like you don't want to like use the wrong pronouns around them.
You got to keep ye away from them. They'll get all offended.
But that was a terrible joke. But anyway,
and yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't seen anything other than this weird thing happening with the mic.
Well, I got to tell you that we were driving around a little bit talking about this, and there is a lot of people that I'm shocked actually at how many people live around here. This is home to a frankly, a lot of people.
Yeah. It's not like the podunk haunted house in the middle of nowhere. It's just a regular town. And I'm sure that the people that live here are super annoyed with like
Jake's
laser,
shining.
or like just the publicity in general, like people that come around. In fact, in that book we were reading, the guy said that like neighbors way back decades ago were annoyed that people would come knock on their door and want to look for UFOs and things like that. So
and ask them about stories and what have you seen and this and that.
Right. So I'm sure now that this show is on Netflix, it's gotten even worse. But we were good people. We found a campground and paid for it, and that's where we are now. But
well, there's also this element of. Sorry, I was hearing that weird noise. Here's the question. What do you guys think? You guys have done some research and you've watched. What do you think is going on here? Jake? Like if you had to give an answer of what is actually happening here, what do you think?
Oh, I think that there is some sort of extraterrestrial existence of some sort, either under the ground, around where the mesa is, or hovering in some sort of a cloaked cloud above this area.
you think it's aliens? So
I don't know if it's
I guess
aliens or maybe not extraterrestrial, but very intelligent, technologically advanced.
But what does that mean? Japan?
China,
Like another
China
country?
or the government. I don't know what the government would want to do being out here, but I don't know. Like if everything in the show is actually happening and it's not edited, but if it's actually occurring as they say and as it shows, then there's definitely something that can't be explained with our current technology that we are aware of.
Right.
So, like, being a little skeptical, the thing I wonder about the show is, like, okay, they had a guy bring a seismometer out to measure vibration in the ground, and he's like, this is weird, the battery's dead and it's not working right. I wonder, did they already have 5 other companies come out who all measured correct things?
And they chose the
Right.
one.
And they chose the one, right, they chose the one that's, like, messing up, and that could just very well be because it messed up, because he didn't charge his battery, or in our case, maybe I have a broken microphone. Maybe that's what's happening. But so I kind of go that route, that like all of this stuff maybe could be explained just by that. What?
Oh, I just accidentally kicked your foot.
Oh, I
That's
thought you were
all.
tapping my foot because you like saw Skinwalker in those bushes over there.
No.
Oh,
I would probably scream like a little girl. I'm not tapping anyone.
if you did, I thought that cat was one, and was just going to
It
turn
might
around and
be.
be like, "Give me your skin."
Yeah, it might be.
You hear it?
Don't know.
I don't know, but I haven't seen any glowing orbs come up out of the lake. I haven't seen any doorways open in the sky. We haven't even seen any meteors.
I
and,
have.
and it's supposed to be a meteor shower tonight. It's supposed to be the peak of the Leonid meteor shower, I think.
I've seen some.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just like shooting stars, right?
I haven't even been like looking.
I've
Yeah.
seen one.
Well, let me tell you, there's this lake, this reservoir actually has lore behind it as well. This isn't a very old reservoir. It's only been around since, I think, the 50s, something like that. And there's already talk of it being cursed. Have you heard this?
I heard a little, yeah. Well, like I said, I heard that someone saw like some glowing orbs
Yeah.
rise up out of it. And,
Have you heard about the serpents that they say live in there?
no.
So this is, again, a Native American story, but they basically say that there are serpents that live in there, like snakes and not too far off from like Loch Ness Monster kind of stuff. But the weird thing is, of course, is that this lake's only like 80 years old. So how can there be like an ancient
Did you see that one?
Whatever. What?
Saw a shooting star.
Oh, did you?
Oh, you shot a star?
Nope.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there's actually a death that's been reported by them. And in the actual police reports, it was that there was something under the water that dragged the person down and drowned them.
Oh, wow.
And it's a little, I mean, there's some more to that story that's a little weird because a guy was there with the lady and she drowned. And anyway, but it could just be a murder story. But my point is that it's kind of interesting that even though it's only 80 years old, this place is supposedly also haunted or has some lure behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I would say, is that showing the shooting stars?
Yeah, the meteors.
That's where they're coming from? Well, I don't see them like it's showing up on your phone. Well, whatever's happening out here, we haven't, in the hour and a half we've been here, we haven't proved that it's aliens or a Native American curse or any of those number of things.
So it must not be true.
But Jake,
Well, we spent a whole hour and a half here.
but Jake,
Must be a bunch of bull crap.
but Jake believes it's aliens. What do you believe, Jeff? What do you think?
I'm gonna. This is my own theory. Okay.
Okay. Well, let go ahead. But I'm going to ask you both a different or a more detailed question. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's kind of long-winded. Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Ready, go.
Do you guys know? And I'm bored.
Wait, what was that? To your left. Oh, there's a car.
I don't want to be eaten, Phil. Don't say that.
Wait, what is it though? Look over there. Is there something moving in those bushes? No, don't shine the light.
Why did I bring a light then?
Just watch.
I think that's bushes
What?
moving in the wind.
Watch the shadow. Whoa, that was a big one.
Shooting
Back behind
star.
us. Anyway, sorry, Jeff.
That's okay. Do you know what? Okay, so here's the thing. There's so many things happening here for so long. It all leads to dead ends so far from what I've seen. It's all just like, oh, this is weird. Oh, that's weird. Hey, this is weird. This is crazy. There's this person that said that. You know what I mean? And that nothing can be substantiated. They can't capture it on film. They can't repeat the you know what I mean? It's very unpredictable. That's why I think it's so funny that you're like, well, we've been here for an hour and a half and we haven't seen anything. It's like, well, that's not really how it works, supposedly.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
if you go back to even the previous time, with the Native Americans and the lore that has been created in this area, it seems to me like they want to protect this space from something or for something.
Who?
Native Americans.
Oh, Native Americans want to protect the space.
Yeah, and they don't want people to
Record podcasts there.
dig or do things around here. They just don't want even people exploring. They just don't want it. And this is where I'm starting to really read into it. Okay, so we're in the Uinta Basin, and we're at basically the base of the Uinta Mountains, right? So, have you guys ever heard of Montezuma's Treasure?
Yeah. Like Montezuma's Revenge.
Yeah, that's when you have diarrhea, I think.
Well, yeah, it's because of that story, right?
Yeah. So Montezuma's Treasure is the Aztecs in South America. They would actually come up to Utah and this area and mine for gold, and they would take it back to Mexico, and that's how they had gold. So the Spanish showed up in the Aztec areas, and they would go. They reported rooms full of gold. This is where like the whole idea of Indiana Jones came from, and they just have so much gold that it's like mountains of it, right? Well, when the Spanish people came back to basically take the gold and take over the Aztecs, basically all the gold was gone, because the story is, and it's pretty corroborated, that they moved all the gold up here, up north. They basically took it back to where they got it from. Have you heard any of this before?
Yeah.
Or am I speaking weird?
Kind of.
Okay, so I think that if you create a lore and there's enough people that believe it, they're going to start seeing things, and they're going to start thinking that there's things that are occurring.
Right.
But given this premise of like, don't dig and don't like leave this stuff alone, basically, they're not going to find stuff like stashes of gold. And
because they're not going to dig because of the lore.
Yeah, or they're going to be scared off. I mean, how many people have been scared off from this ranch? Multiple families.
Yeah.
Have claimed to have been terrorized. And I talked to a guy who said that the Uinta Mountains many generations ago they could find gold nuggets there just sitting on the ground because of the way the geology spits up rock. It basically just spews gold. If you guys sorry, this sound is going crazy. So I think that this whole space is in a path of the
gold.
The gold, yeah. And that they're protecting it and trying to keep things hidden.
So, Jake thinks that aliens are around. Do you think Native Americans are protecting the gold?
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you guys a little more specific. Let's talk about mutilations. So the scientist guy claims that they find these animals mutilated. All of their organs are removed, and they can't find a drop of what they claim was a single drop of blood anywhere inside the carcass of this animal.
Yeah, no blood inside. It's been drained, and there's no blood on the ground outside.
Yeah, and even if you drain an animal of blood, there's still blood in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You peel up part of the skin or start cutting it open, there's blood. That's true, right?
Yeah.
So there's no blood. So what is your explanation for that?
Skinwalkers.
It's a skin. So the skinwalker like cuts the animal open and sucks it so hard that every ounce of blood comes out of it. Or what were you going to say, Jeff?
I think that you're taking the story as fact.
Oh, you don't think there was a dead animal with no blood?
I mean, it's two people that reported that story, and there's no evidence
because this, in the book, this scientist guy who went with this scientific team found one of these animals and completely examined it and claimed they could not find a single trace of blood. Like a scientific team of scientists.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't think that's...
I don't think they're producing any evidence.
Oh, like he didn't...
Where's the body? Where's the photos?
Photos and all that?
Why are they being so secretive and they're not releasing their investigations data? NIDS, the group I was talking about earlier.
Oh, and that's who you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, the one you're talking about, that the scientific team reported this. All they did was reported that it happened.
Right. They didn't
produce any evidence that it happened. They just said that it happened.
Okay.
There's another situation where the rancher and the sheriff came out and they found the same thing, basically. A mutilated animal with no blood in it. And all of its innards were ripped out of its anus. Something like that.
Right. Well, and what they claimed, it wasn't just ripped out. It was like there was just like a hole.
It was bored out
missing
almost
in the animal, but it was like almost like someone cut it out with a laser.
Right.
Because it was like just perfectly missing. It was like someone just like took it out.
Surgical precision.
Like photoshopped it right out of the animal. That's the best thing I could think of to describe what they were saying. But
yeah, but again, that's a story. I don't want to.
They don't have a picture of like a animal with a Photoshop.
You'd think there would be photos of something like that.
Yeah.
Or you think I'm just saying that there's too much weirdness around the weirdness too.
Yeah.
Like this group that spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars researching this place for a decade, won't release any of the data.
Yeah.
Why? Doesn't that seem weird?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why wouldn't they give the data up? And why didn't they have photos? And why didn't they have, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Brandon Fugel and those guys are trying to at least figure something out. And I really, truly do think they're trying to get to the bottom of it. The problem is with doing it via reality TV and Hollywood, they have to produce content.
Yeah, they have to dramatize
have no
it.
option.
Yeah.
They can't go 8 months without finding something and making it a big deal.
Well, one thing I was thinking about, because isn't in the show, don't they show the ridge that we're looking at right now? And they show like some night shots of it like lighting up. And they're like, what is that weird light from? But as we're looking at it out here, there's actually a road that goes not right on the ridge, but it's, I would say, I don't know, quarter mile from the ridge where cars are constantly turning on to, that's what we keep seeing lights on over there. And couldn't that be an explanation for, although it is kind of lighting up kind of on the other side of the ridge where you would think it wouldn't.
Yeah, the cars we see down there are way past where the ridge is.
Yeah.
But there's the face of the ridge that's lighting up, and then there are also the beams of light shining straight in the air.
That's true.
And the
like
UFOs in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every time they shoot a laser in the air, they send a weather balloon that just miraculously disappears, or they shoot rockets. Every single time there's a UAP up in the air. That's just crazy.
What's a UAP?
Unidentified aerial phenomenon. We went over this, Phil.
That's right. You said
and then
already.
they say they're like,
what, isn't it just a UFO?
well, aerial phenomenon just means it's in the air, like a floating orb would be a UAP. It's not necessarily flying, but it's just in the air.
Oh.
But if you can see that it's like moving across the sky, then it would become technically.
But if
UFO.
it's in the air, isn't it by definition flying?
No, hovering. Well, like, technically yes, but I think the government
What if it's
changed.
What if it's falling?
I guess not. A balloon doesn't fly; it floats, right?
I think
Right.
the government created the UAP acronym so that
Probably
it
to get
doesn't
away
sound
from the
so
UFO.
wacko
Yeah.
UFO. Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Well, I got to tell you though, like certain things from the show, like the thing lighting up the mesa, is losing a little bit of credibility because of how populated and lit this area.
Yeah,
actually
it's not
is.
as remote as the show
portrays.
makes it out to seem.
Yeah,
It
and
is not.
And I'm wondering if it's not cars shining across the ridge there, could they be coming up the ridge over here, which kind of like the headlights glance over that way? I don't know. And also there's this big giant oil rig with this huge lit up tower out there. Now that's probably not accounting for light on the ridge because they're facing the other direction.
Yeah, and that's way south of the ridge.
But it could also be just like kids going out there with a white laser, shining it straight up, and they're like, "What was that?" And
Yeah.
I don't know. But
What do you think, Phil?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything in the show or the book to make me think. Because again, I think like you had this family that lived out here, and they claimed for years and years that pretty much like it more resembles to me like being haunted. Like when you hear about people who live in haunted houses, they like experience more of the things like they did. Like they would hear voices a lot that would like talk to them. They would see things like, for example, like a van driving through their field, and they would like chase after it thinking it was trespassers, but it would just like
Fly off
or go right through their fence without knocking their fence over, and just keep going, and then just like kind of shoot up into the air. Like it sounds more like kind of what people describe in haunted places.
But that was an element to this whole thing too, is like poltergeist type activity.
Yeah, well, that was it. Like it's not just UFOs, it's poltergeist. It's not just poltergeist, it's Native American, Skinwalker type things. It's like so many different things. It just makes me think like maybe people, it started somewhere, some family that bought it claim to see something, and now there's a rumor that like this happens here. So the next family
the lore
comes,
has created these things people think they're seeing.
Right, and your mind is already like, this is what's going to happen here, so other people experience it too. I've wondered if it's not that, if it's just more of like a people psyching themselves out kind of thing.
Well, there is this concept, and it is a paranormal concept, but it's I think it's called a topper, something like that, where basically if enough people are creating something or imagining something, that it actually does become real.
Yeah.
And so you could see something like that occurring on a ranch where you're like, enough people are going, oh, there's poltergeist activity out here. And then all of a sudden, guess what? There's actually poltergeist activity.
Yeah. And maybe that's it. I don't know. Or maybe again, it's just in people's heads. They're... I don't know, but I haven't really seen or heard anything that was like, oh my gosh. But I've seen and heard enough that I was interested enough to drive out here, sit in the freezing cold, and stare into the darkness for our Halloween special right here on the American Forked podcast. So we've got through the second round of Jake having to pee. So I think we're pretty much there.
So that means we're almost done?
Yeah.
Our show is no longer timed. It's just timed off of Jake needing to pee.
Yeah.
So how many times does he pee before we end?
2.
2. Okay.
Yeah. So we're about there.
Jake's.
Are you getting freaked out, Jake? I still think the Skinwalker would be in the shadows to the left of us.
I thought I dropped
Right behind me?
Just ran right across the thing.
Right behind me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, to the left of you, where you can't, like, in your blind spot.
Well, I can't really see.
Yeah, because
Thanks.
you've got your hoodie on.
Yeah. It is kind of cold out here. What's the temperature?
It's dropping. This
49
was when we got
degrees.
here. It was a really nice night, but we got here right before the cold hit for the big storm that's coming. The big drop in temperature, I guess you could say. But I've been staring into blackness this whole time. I haven't seen anything yet. I can tell you when we were right at the ranch, when we were in the car, that was like a weird, creepy feeling, like being there looking up at the ridge.
It is a little weird.
It's like, what's going on up there? We saw some weird lights flashing. You're just kind of looking out there. But again... Is that just because, like, we're expecting it, your mind is going there? Because I've spent a lot of time outdoors. So when I was young, I worked on my grandfather's ranch, which really was a remote ranch.
Was way more remote than this.
Yeah, there's, like, nobody around. Like, you're probably a mile from your neighbor, and it's just black out there. So when you have to get up at 3 a.m. to go move pipe, you're driving on a four-wheeler, you can only see this like beam of light right in front of you, and you get off and you start moving pipe, and it's pitch black out there, and your mind plays tricks on you the first couple times you do it.
Right.
But you do it enough and you're just like, oh, yep, there's a coyote howling again, you know, like, or a bunch of coyotes, or that's just the wind or whatever. Like, you just get used to it. And I've also wondered if, like, some of these families move out here and just get freaked out being outside in the dark, like, and your mind plays tricks on you, and then you start like buying it into more. And I only say that because it seems like a lot of the neighbors in the area kind of thought these people were nuts. You know, they were like, oh, we've seen all this stuff, and everyone else that lives in the same area was just like, no, you know, we haven't seen or heard anything. Those people are crazy. Now that doesn't mean that they are, or it didn't happen. There could be any number of explanations as to why it's only happening in this specific area that we're in right now. But whatever it is, we
haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. But
listen,
and then Phil's gonna go home and analyze this audio and be like, "Wait a second, guys, there was another person on the podcast
and
the whole time,
whispering,
like, leave
every 30
now."
seconds.
The cat was talking into the mics the whole time.
Chip, chip, chip.
Here's the thing. I personally believe that we are not alone in the universe.
Yeah.
That the government
and the aliens are here.
I don't know if I
so.
believe that, but I do believe that the government has access to technologies that we, as a general public, couldn't even fathom or understand. And I also am open to the idea that there are phenomena that cannot be explained with our modern understanding. So I'm particularly intrigued by this area, and really interested to hear all of the stories and everything, and I don't tend to not immediately discount anytime someone says something, but I do also believe that sometimes a story or a lore can make someone think that they see or hear something that's not actually there. That cat keeps coming around.
Yeah, keeps running across over here. That book that we read, it had a really interesting quote that I think we're going to end on, which was, and I'm going to get this wrong, but it was like, science is supposed to investigate the unknown, not... I'm going to get it wrong.
Not discount the unexplored or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a reverse of that. Science is supposed to explore the unknown, not
unknow the explored.
No, it was science is supposed to investigate the unknown or the unexplored, not explore the known. I think maybe, but essentially the gist of the idea was like, there's no point in science if it's already known, if it's a fact. Like, you're investigating something you don't know about.
Yeah.
If it's already known, there's no point. Like, there's not really a lot of point in a scientific expedition to find out if the sun is hot, right?
Right.
Maybe how hot or how, whatever. But whether or not it is, everybody knows the sun gives off heat. Like,
well, what he is explaining is there's scientific discovery.
right.
And he's basically saying that most science that occurs these days is no longer scientific discovery. It's figuring out the mechanics of existing discoveries.
Right.
And it's like, there's just not much to be gained from that. There's something to be gained, but there's not new things to be gained from it, because nobody's going outside the box and finding out new things.
Yeah.
That was Einstein. I mean, people are still studying that theory.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where who's creating the new theories right now?
Right.
There's not many people, because they're told that they're fringe and crazy, or their reputation is shattered.
I love Fringe.
Fringe, the show.
That's my comfort zone.
It is like
No, the
X-File.
show's cool, but I'm just saying the idea of fringe science is kind of like my comfort zone.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there is more fringe things that are being researched, like dark matter and stuff like that 20 years ago was considered fringe. Now it's less fringe.
Yeah.
But I think that's where breakthroughs are. We need people to discover and research this type of phenomenon in order to make breakthroughs.
And that's what it really gets back to for me. It's like, you watch the show and it's like, oh yeah, this rich guy like hires people to come out and test his place.
Rich white guy.
And he has enough of them come out that one of them finds a weird thing. It's like, okay, but if there was really something out there, and like even a handful of like reasonably legitimate people, like scientists, witnessed it, even just witnessed it and didn't even record it, you'd think there'd be a lot more serious, like you'd think there'd be a research center set up out there that, like, with all kinds of high-tech equipment, like monitoring the place. Like when you watch any like sci-fi alien show, if some kind of alien anomaly happens, some ship appears or some black blob or something, that's like, you've got government tents set up. Like E.T. is a perfect example. Like, oh, there's an alien, like there's this huge thing. So if like people are really seeing portals in the air and orbs fly out of the ground and animals really are being mutilated in impossible ways, you'd think there'd be like an army down here.
We need some white vans at least.
Yeah.
Like a fleet of white vans sitting on the side of the road with like large dishes on the roof.
Right.
That would make you feel better.
That's what I say.
Okay.
But anyway, do you think we fixed America today?
I think that America doesn't exist in this dimension.
Like we need to look into the sky, into like a portal, and we can like see America over there,
Sonoma,
and it's like
California.
Everyone's holding hands, and there's no more like Republicans or Democrats. It's just like happy, racially like what's that word? Non-racial?
Non-denominational.
They're all racially ambiguous people. Like there's no more race.
No sex.
There's no more political ideology. It's just like America.
Yeah, and the America is spelled with a Q in that dimension.
I like it. I think if we're gonna find it, it's gonna be out in this place.
Q and Annika.
Q and Annika. I love it. Well, thanks for being with us on the American Forked Podcast. We hope you had a good Halloween time with us. And
spooky.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, I love you.
Right?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That's what I always say.
Analyzing audio input.
Nuggets there just sitting on the ground because of the way the geology spits up rock. Basically just so I think that this whole space is in a path of the gold, yeah, and that they're
Tuning audio up 1 octave. Tuning audio up 1 octave. Tuning audio up 1 octave. Isolating audio above 20 kilohertz. Tuning audio down 2 octaves. Isolating audio above 20 kilohertz. Tuning audio down 2 octaves.